what's up, everybody? Welcome out. 6 o'clock live stream. We have a topic that we've never touched on before. We're going to try something new tonight, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know if it's going to work with copyright and all that stuff, but we're going to give it a whirl and see what happens. I thought it was a cool idea to promote other tattoo movies, documentaries that are out there on YouTube, and we have some cool stuff. We'll see how it goes. Hope you all had a safe, happy week. I do want to say right off the bat, so this way we got anybody that dips out early or whatever. Next week we will not be doing a live stream. The reason is that next week
That's an airplane.
I have to pack all my stuff and ship any type of battery stuff out to Reno for the convention. So a majority of my stuff will be in transit to Reno, and we won't be able to do it. So next week, there won't be a live stream. The following Sunday, I will be live streaming from Reno. So you should definitely check that out. It could be interesting. It could be a complete train wreck, too. You never know. I don't know what the internet connection is like in there, so I'll be winging it. But I hope you join me. And then... Justin, you're going to go check out the New Jersey Ink Fest.
The New Jersey Ink Fest.
Maybe?
No.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like
I know you're hesitant to go. It's a first run tattoo convention. I don't think the expectations are like huge, but they are trying to pull in other quasi famous people to promote it. So
I mean, without a doubt, like New York and New Jersey are saturated.
Yeah.
Saturated with conventions. So it must be hard to start up a new convention, and it's mostly going to be, from what I've looked on the internet, it's mostly going to be like local Jersey talent. But hey,
right on.
Let's go see what the kids are doing.
So I definitely want to.
We'll make fun of them.
You're not going to be live streaming. You're just going to be shooting footage, and then I'll take care of it when I get back. So we'll have that, whether I have clips that week or whatever. But what we'll do is I'll live stream from Reno, Lady Luck Tattoo Convention. You'll do shots of the New Jersey Ink Fest. And then that week I'll come home and I'll just be edit.
Are we going to go to Pagoda?
I'd like to go since it is the last one.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of the best in our area. So yeah, I mean, we could definitely talk about that. And if that's the case, then, I'll obviously take footage and whatnot as we're going through that event. But, so tonight.
Here, before we get into what we're going to do tonight, I meant to ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a tattoo documentary series or tattoo movie that you especially like?
As far as series go, I think to me, I think they did a fantastic job, the Vice series.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
I think part of it has to do with that the artist that they picked to be on that series is one, right? I think that they did a really good job of the way they shot it with, it's question-answer kind of format. But then it's kind of like day-to-day stuff. Like the one with Perfetto. He's just kind of like walking around the neighborhood and everybody's like, yo, Mikey. And he's like, yo, come here. He's like, this little guy right here, I tattooed him 20 years ago. I tattooed his dad too. You know what I mean? Like that kind of gives you really the essence of the people that are involved in his world. As far as the movies and stuff, like full-blown movies,
or what about movies that feature some kind of tattooing? Like my favorite movie scene that features tattooing is Deadpool 2, when he kills all the Yakuza. Because it happens in a bathhouse, and I mean, their tattoo work looks authentic and beautiful.
I was more thinking like tattoo-related movies, like the Tattoo Age.
Yeah.
That's really good. As shitty as they are, as cheesy as they are now, Um, I, I think that I like the Roy Boy stuff. It's so far left field. Like the dude was
Like Tiger King.
crazy, so far left field that I dig him because some of the people in there, obviously, right? Like Spider Webb, Paul Booth. I mean, there's some pretty heavy duty people in there, but the whole like skits of them like arguing and him playing the guitar and he's like, "Shut the hell up," like it's so white trash that it's funny to me. And I don't think it was intended to be that way.
So
in his
there's
mind.
so there's a movie with Bruce Stern, right? And it's a pretty heavy movie. It's from the 70s. A tattooer becomes obsessed with a woman. I forget if she's a model. And he kidnaps her and tattoos her.
Mm.
And then I think she ends up killing him at the end. And
So
I can't remember the name of it.
I don't, off the top of my head, like I don't remember any movies that were about tattooing or had somebody tattooing in them.
But it was, the Bruce Stern film was one of the first. It was sort of groundbreaking because it's centered on a tattooed character, even if it didn't show him in a good light.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. I mean, right off the top of my head, the only movie I can think of that where it actually has a tattooer, in the movie is the Hangover, 2 or 3, where they're in Bangkok. When a dude gets his face tattooed, they go back to the tattoo shop where he got his face tattooed. I mean, as far as movie tattoos, I knew I was going to do this. I'm drawing a blank already.
I think Freddie Corbin, did he do like a bit part on Sons of Anarchy?
I don't know about that, but the Keanu Reeves movie,
John Wick.
John Wick.
Oh,
Like his back tattoos and stuff like that. I mean, that looks super real. Obviously, it's not. But
Eastern Promises. I don't know why I completely flaked on Eastern Promises.
Fat Cracker said it's called Tattoo, the movie you're talking about. Look at that.
Yeah,
They really stretched for that one.
yeah, that's my man.
It took a reach on that one.
It's a really heavy film, right?
Our moderator Nikki said Strangeland with D. Snyder.
Ah, yeah, all the body manipulation.
So yeah, man. I mean, there's plenty of cool stuff out there. But my thing tonight was I want to promote some of the good documentaries that are on YouTube that are tattoo related, because I think they're all worthy of catching, and I think that we're going to do some of these movies. Justin and I were just talking about it. I think we're going to try to do maybe one a month. But I also want to make sure that you all understand that because we're going to do one movie, like or documentary, like tonight, for example, this documentary is about Zeke Owens. And it's not going to replace me doing an episode about Zeke down the line. So I just want to get that out of the way.
I did hear there's a pretty good documentary history channel on YouTube somewhere. Tattoos in
Yeah, it's out there. You just got to search for it.
Got to search for it.
And I want to thank everybody for watching the Coleman video. It's my best performing
that was a good video
I've done yet. So I'm almost at 10,000 views, which is insane to me.
I think it's great that it's called the Wagner style, though.
Yeah. So we'll have some interesting tidbits about that as well here shortly. So let's dive into this,
Mr. Owens,
and then we'll say hello to everybody that's hanging out with us tonight and get to some comments. But
do you think we should address? So if you're new to the channel, you're going to see people talking about sanitary tattooing without gloves,
yes,
and smoking while they're tattooing.
You're going to see all of that tonight.
Yeah.
Obviously, those things have changed, and there's actually a little blip in here. I have it written down in my notes. One of the areas where Cliff is actually talking about sanitation and the improvements of sanitation, and yet, what did I say?
Cliff.
Where the hell did that come from?
Well, Cliff was huge with sanitation.
Yeah. Right. he was like the forerunner.
Yeah.
So Zeke is talking about sanitation, the improvements of sanitation, and yet he's tattooing with no gloves on, smoking a cigarette. So anyway, it's not contradictory, but it's just interesting.
Yeah, you got to, he mentions that that was an improvement from Sponge and Bucket.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. So the other thing is I'm going to do my best to play stuff. We're obviously not going to watch the whole thing, especially with this documentary, because there are songs in the background that will get us a copyright strike. So what I did was I wrote down timestamps of pieces that are in this documentary that I felt like were important to you all that we could talk about. And hopefully it works. If, there's an issue with audio or whatever, let me know immediately. We'll try to do what we can. I did test it. I think it'll work. So we should be good to go. You ready to jump into this?
Sure, yeah.
So the documentary is called Zeke Owen's Master Tattoo Artist. It's Michael Houghton is the guy that put this together. It was filmed between the years of 1969 and 1973. It was not a completed project, or it was not mastered. Michael's wife found the clips and stuff. And
it was completed posthumously.
Yeah, and I forgot, I didn't put it down on my notes, but I believe it was Ed Hardy.
No, she says at the end, it was a guy named Mike Hardy.
Mike Hardy.
Who was no relation to Ed.
No relation to Ed. But he talks about Ed.
Yes, he does.
And it's kind of funny, actually. So let's jump into it. All right. So this first part is explaining needle depth, different types of needles, and again, please let me know if you can't hear it.
Yeah, you have to go just right. If you go too deep, they're going to spread, and if you go too light, they're going to fade. And if you use too big a line, naturally they're going to spread. There's a lot of debate over that among guys that tattoo. They argue whether 3 needle liners are better, or 4 needle, or 5 needle. Some people say the 3 needle liner cuts and it leaves a scar. It's a very fine line, but it'll spread more than the 5, and on and on and on.
What are you using?
I use a 5. Tight 5.
Pretty well set. What is called 7?
Well, 7 was the liner that was the most popular liner that came out during the war, World War II, because there were so many people. There were thousands of people getting tattooed, and needles were hard to get, and everybody was in a hurry.
That's Jack Red Cloud, not Paul Rogers.
Yeah, so Justin and I caught this, actually. They have listed here that it's Paul Rogers, and it's Jack Red Clouds. So
I live for that stuff.
What's that?
I live for that stuff.
Yeah, that was definitely a good catch, man. So I know it's a little hard to hear with the tattoo machine in the background, and you can't hear the guy that's asking Zeke questions too well. But after this first initial clip, you'll hear the audio on Zeke gets a lot better, crystal clear. It's just not, I'm being picky, but.
So just.
Let's jump into the first part.
Right. I mean, the sound of the machine in those clips
is
terrifying. I mean, that's like
ripping.
Yeah, ripping. That's if it ain't sparking, it ain't marking.
So he's talking about you not being the right needle depth, blowing out lines, basically. He talks about how every little piece of the equation is important to him. And later on, he actually talks about cooking his ink. That he said
Nolan
in Hong Kong.
Drawn a blank.
Yeah, so just...
But Hong Kong Phooey.
Yeah, it's not. Where I'm getting at, though, is he's that in tune with all his equipment. You know what I mean? Like, that's... I don't know if right now in this place and time, there's a lot of tattoo artists that are like that. where every little thing is, it's like this cog in the wheel. But
So to talk about that, right? Like when you were working as a sound guy,
yep,
you developed an intuitive understanding of the board, right?
yeah,
Like you could walk in, listen to a certain amount of time of a particular, and you would just know things.
yep.
Yeah.
I can still do it now. I mean, I'll go to a concert and I'll be like, that dude's waffling that compressor. But
So
I'm also in a position now, which kind of goes hand in hand with what we're talking about, though. You know, I had a friend of mine that, you know, asked me about getting back into doing sound. And because everything's digital now, I said no. I just can't. It doesn't. For me, I need to have knobs. I need to touch something. Like when I mix, it's a feel. It's like I don't even have to look, man. I could just reach down and be like, yep, there it is. And you can't do that with the new digital stuff because it's all, you know, digital. It's like it's a fake button at with your mouse or whatever. Like it's beyond my expertise at this point. Like I've been far enough out of the loop that if you actually put me on that board, it's not even a board anymore. Like
it's a laptop.
It's an iPad. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy to me that they can do that. I went to the Cromwell in Vegas to see my boy Bobby, who you know, he actually was one of the guys that taught me how to do sound back in the day. He was one of the original sound guys on Saturday Night Live. And he was like, yeah, man, come on out, hang out with me, man. And, you know, I walked in there and I'm like, he was nowhere to be found. And I go to the back of the room and he's sitting on the couch with his feet up. I'm like, what are you mixing? He was like, right here, man. And he had the iPad on it was strapped to his hand. He was like, right here. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. But yeah.
So the point that this documentary is being made, he's been tattooing what at this point? Owens.
So this was 73, so he's probably been 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that. All right, let's jump back into it.
Putting them on in a hurry, getting them, it's a lot easier and faster to use a heavier line, you know? So they all use 7.
Yeah, so at this point, he goes through, you know, how much the importance of wartime was. They talk about how things needed to be quick. But they also he talks about, you know, how and this is what we talked about with the Coleman thing, was like these guys wanted to have these bold, see them from across the street tattoos that could also be done quick. I think that, you know, they designed tattoos, some of the tattoos they designed that you didn't even ever have to pick up, right? Like you could just go the whole way around. And
yeah, so Tommy Knapp he designed some flash, Coleman style flash. And that's one of the things Tommy was known for. He just load up that needle and put the outline on.
right.
You know, the thing with all the sailors, I mean, I probably mentioned this before, and I didn't know this until I saw the Sailor Jerry documentary. All that stuff, all the tattooing, all the whoring, all the drinking, that all went on in the daytime.
Yeah.
Because at nighttime, they had to have all the lights out, right? The air raid precautions. So when you think of, like, some sailor, like, throwing up in some bushes, you know what I mean? Because he's all... you know, whatever, he's all wasted on leave. I mean, that's at noon. That's when Ma and Pa are taking, you know, they're coming home from church.
So in this next clip, he actually talks about tattooing in Guam.
On R&R, going back to Vietnam, would keep a bandage on every day for 7 days, you know, change it every day, and they never had any trouble at all.
So, I mean, he's talking about these guys wearing these bandages for, you know, 7 days, never taking it off, and it being fine.
Yeah, changing it every day. Yeah.
Like now, that's kind of not the norm. I think it's different scenarios, though, right? You're talking about somebody that's serving more time. Talking about somebody that sits at a desk every day and pushes a pencil.
Have you ever thought about the ridiculousness of tattooers giving medical advice?
Well,
I mean, I can't even operate a fax machine, and I'm telling people how to heal tattoos. It's funny.
yeah. So this next part is where he actually goes into sanitary stuff, and I found this kind of interesting. And again, it's not lost the fact that he's not wearing gloves and he's smoking a cigarette, but. Let me fast forward it. It's at 3:52. I need to be very careful about where I'm music.
In the last 10 years or so, the sanitation level of tattooing has come up just on a par with the rest of the times. For years and years, it was just absolutely ridiculous. That's the way I started, what we call the old sponge and bucket technique. Yeah, that's the same needles and ink on everybody, the same jar of ink, and you use a sponge and bucket to wash with, And I saw a lot of room for improvement there.
There you go. I mean, so, I've heard Philadelphia Eddie talk about the sponge and bucket days, specifically with the Moskowitz brothers.
Little Lysol.
Yeah. And, I've also heard the older guys, Eddie, I've heard stories from the Moskowitz, I think it was Stan, where they were talking about using the same needle to the point where it was like dull.
Yeah. You
And
sharpen
then
them with the matchbook.
Right, and then they would eventually go down to like Brooklyn Blackies and buy needles off of them. I think that you think about some of that stuff now, and you're just like, it goes beyond the, not wearing gloves thing. So to me, that's crazy. But he said, so Fat Cracker said, no, they change it every day. Yeah, no, that's depending on who you ask. I mean, Philadelphia Eddie specifically talks about not changing the needle every day. Like they were, I guess.
Yeah, the bandages, they change them once a day.
Yeah, the bandages. Yeah, I got you.
So I was trying to think of what it was, but it was the product that they used in barbershops.
Barbasol.
That they put the razors in. So you would see some of the old guys that would set up a bunch of machines, right? And they would do what was called cold sterilization. So you would put your machine, and I'm not saying this is a good idea. I'm just saying this is what they did.
Yeah.
So, for your first tattoo, you use your first two machines, and then you put them to the back of the rack in the Barbasol or whatever, Maticide or Stericide, whatever they were using, and then you use your second set of machines, and you just recycle them. Yes, because so by the time you were done using all your machines, they'd been in the solution long enough to be re-sterilized. That was the theory.
So in your mind, when do you feel like the changeover was of, fresh new needles right out of the package?
That would be the 90s.
Yeah?
The late 80s, early 90s, yeah.
Okay. Because I could have swore I remember...
Late 80s, yeah, late 80s. I'm sorry, the 80s, not the 90s, the 80s.
I could have swore getting my first tattoo, the chick pulled it out of like a thing of fluid, which is the stuff you're talking about, and went, okay, so, and then,
So once...
Now, after that, it was pull them out, and that, I have been tested, so...
Yeah. Who hasn't been tested, No, I think that, so you think about, like, dermographics. For a while, that was like a job people would get when they needed extra money, the needle room.
Yeah.
And they would sit down there and just solder needles all day.
With needle jigs.
Yeah, with needle jigs. And then, put them in the sterilizer. But, like, I think the gas sterilized needles, Yeah, I'm going to say the 80s.
Okay.
Because I even have, if you have an old copy of the Huck Spalding A to Z tattooing book, he actually had to rewrite the chapter on sterilization and give you a booklet with it.
Okay.
Because at one point he was selling heat claves.
Which is just gonna
Heat.
increase the wouldn't that increase germs?
I don't think it would. I
would think some germs would be.
Some germs, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this next part is interesting to me because we're talking 1973 and it is 2025. So we're talking 52 years later. And ironically enough, we're still having the same discussions. And let's check it out. I think that this is going to be interesting for a couple people.
Unless they really know what it's all about. It can ruin them, or it can ruin the business, or they can ruin somebody else. But there's so many people that are working today with just mail order equipment that don't have any knowledge of what they're doing or anything. They just get a handful of these duplicated designs and some old clunk tattoo machines, and they go to some place where there's not too strict the sanitation laws, and they set up shop and go to work.
So, I mean...
Yeah, but he's not talking about Amazon. He's not talking about...
It's the same principle.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of tattoo kits sold.
Yeah, look, yeah. I see the argument that it's obviously, tenfold or hundredfold compared to what it was back then. But it was still the same thing. Talking about people that were just ordering stuff and winging a prayer, you know what I mean? Like, I just found it interesting that here we are all these years later, and it's the same kind of discussion. And...
so I was thinking about this earlier because, some of the tattooers of my generation will bitch about the new technology, the quality of the inks. Like any idiot can put on a nice tattoo now because the inks are so much better, and the what do you call it? The pens are so much easier to use. There's no moving parts and stuff like that. But I wonder what the guys thought when I was coming up. And I didn't have to mix my own inks. I didn't have to make my own needles.
Right.
I didn't have to, all kinds of things that were just already, they were being pre-made on a much smaller level than they are now. But, you had guys that, were, what do you call it, taking car antennas. That's how they made their tubes. Things like that.
Right.
So what did those guys think when we were coming up? And we had so much of an easier time than they did. And now some of us are bitching about the kids having so much of an easier time than we did.
Right. Well, I mean, I think there's going to be quite a few topics that are going to be in this documentary, as we've already seen, that are reoccurring themes right now.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be a continual thing, and people are going to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to fight social media. I'm not going to fight this. I'm not going to fight this. I need to buy into it, or I'm going to be dead in the water. I'm not saying you got to agree with everything, but I think that there's going to have to be some give and take. You yourself, dude, are at the point where you're like, you know what, man? I realize now that I do need social media.
Yeah.
As much as you hate to say it, it's true.
Yeah.
And, I mean...
The game has changed.
And I shot you that reel by some, OG tattoo guy that, basically didn't sugarcoat it. And you went, okay, I get it now. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's what it took, was that. But this next part is pretty interesting.
Their condition, if they're put on correctly in the first place, is because of the technique, not too deep or not too light, the application of the outline, the color. We've learned from looking at work that was done, well, let's see, 30 or 40 or 50 years ago,
That's a nice
what they were doing wrong and what they were doing right. There were a few artists years ago, like Burt Grimm. He was in St. Louis for years and years, and his work held up. I've seen people with tattoos that he did 40 years ago. It didn't look like it'd been on 5 or 6 years. It was his technique. There's a few old timers back on the East Coast, like Coleman and Paul Rogers.
Who?
I don't know if Connolly's still around or not, but they were the all-time greats. They're the ones that absolutely established a procedure to adjust the machine to do really good work. And it's been like it'd been on 5 or 6 years. It was his technique. There's a few old timers back on the East Coast, like Coleman and Paul Rogers. And
Maybe we should put
I don't
that
know
on
if
loop.
Connolly's still around or not, but they were the all-time greats. They're the ones that absolutely established a procedure to adjust the machine to do really good work. And it's
So there you go, man. I mean, oh, thank you, Sarah, for the $5 super chat.
Hey,
Much
Sarah.
appreciated. Yeah. So Coleman and Rogers, some of the all-time greats.
Coleman, yeah.
We're the masters of fine-tuning machines to get them to work properly and to lay down lines that 40 and 50 years later, people were still seeing their tattoos.
Amazing.
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 Coleman style of tattooing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Not taking anything away from the other guy.
But I find it, interesting too, though, that they have, he's understands the people that came before him. He's obviously a young kid in this. I would say he's less than 30 in here.
But that hair is incredible.
That is a wicked hair.
That's a pompadour, man. That hair is incredible.
That hair is on fire, dude.
All the bald guys in the audience say, hey.
Yeah. We all wished we had that hair. So before we keep going, let's just say hello to everybody. We got a bunch of people hanging out with us tonight, which is awesome. We got Bill O'Connell. We got OG Sarah. We got Fat Cracker hanging. Chris Hawkins, Luz, Fudu, Stephen Street. Who else? I'm seeing all kinds of comments, and I don't want to skip anybody. We'll get to the comments in a minute, but yeah, man. So we got a good crew hanging out with us tonight. Let's get
Welcome, everyone.
So Bill O'Connell said, in the 1990s, I got to be an extra in the Dee Snider movie Strangeland. They were looking for tattooed and pierced people. That's awesome, man. Fat Cracker said he was throwing out 2 more tattoo-centric movies. Well, I don't know if they were tattoo-centric, but featured tattoos. There you go. American Me and American History X. Justin, that movie that you were talking about is tattooed by Bruce Dern, or with Bruce Dern.
When they made the Bradbury book into a movie, The Tattooed Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where like his you can see the future in his tattoos.
So
Illustrated Man.
Fudu said 1974 movie The Yakuza with Robert Mitchum and Ken Takakuri has nice tattoo work in it. For the best episodes outside of Vice, check out Tribal Tattoo Tours. Bill O'Connell said, Buck, when I first started getting tattooed in 1982, no gloves, everyone smoking and sometimes drinking too. Wild times, man.
Don't forget the cocaine.
Yeah. Stephen Street said, I miss the sound of machines, different now. Chris Hawkins said, my first, they used gloves, big ever. But everyone was smoking. Okay. Stephen Street said, I remember Bob Moore smoking all the time while tattooing, different now. Bill O'Connell said, I went to Ink Master Tattoo Convention yesterday in Colorado Springs. Good people there. Talked to a couple guys who have tattooed 20 or 30 years or so, along with young, cool people too. I'd be curious to see who the 20 to 30 year tattooers were that you talked to, Bill. Fat Cracker said, great doc on Owens. I've seen it a few times, but his hair is fucking classic. Bill O'Connell said, I love this documentary with Zeke. I think he's one of the, who advertised 7 colors available outside his shop. Ironically enough,
Here, listen. Before we get into that part, right?
I have that picture, so let me just show that real quick. There you go. 8 colors.
I believe that Fat Cracker is in the running for the
Ink magazine.
the Ink magazine.
Tattooed person.
Yeah.
Contest. I voted for him. I don't know if voting is up or not.
Oh, okay.
I thought I saw that the voting was up maybe this weekend. He laughed at your medical advice thing. Stephen Street said the first tattoo I had was covered with a kitchen tissue. 1989, Cardiff, Wales. Nice. Yeah, Fat Cracker said, where's the Sponge and Bucket comedy skit infomercial? Me and Justin actually talked about doing that. I know that's what you're referencing. And I tell you what, I think that we're going to wind up doing some of that stuff. Some of that stuff might wind up being on your personal thing that you're trying to get going. So Justin's going to try doing his own TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh.
So we'll see how that goes.
Such a shame.
Yeah. So yesterday, Bill Cano said, yesterday the convention people were amazed and talking to me about my old sleeves finished in 1994 by Bill Clayton and a piece done by Gil Monty in 1982. Gil's piece still has the original white. There you go, man. And Bill Clayton, man, I know he's a huge legend in the North Carolina area. I interviewed the Art of Lord Grimm. He actually worked there for a while. I think he's moved on and went to a different shop at this point. But Fat Cracker said, check out Travel Tattoo Tours on YouTube. It was shot in 2018. 16 badass tattooers from all over the world tour Europe on a bus, hitting 7 of the best tattoo shops in the EU. Hanky Panky Tattooing is one of the shops they visit. It's a tattoo shop and museum in Amsterdam. It's a great tattoo convention coming up in Holland. Garver and Philip Liu will be there.
Jesus, how old is Philip Liu now?
He just had a birthday today, actually. Hanky Panky's museum is closed, though.
Yes.
It is. It closed, I think, a year ago. And Fat Cracker said, thank you for everyone who voted. And that helped to promote the 2025-00 Never Forget project.
All right, so before we get back to the movie, right?
Uh-huh.
Of course, Zeke had respect for his predecessors.
Okay.
Because they would have stomped the shit out of him if he didn't.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying that Zeke. I mean, I don't mean Zeke in particular, but of course, tattooers then had respect for their predecessors because their predecessors were not the kind of guys that would allow disrespect.
I have to look it up, and I was gonna look this up and I forgot because I know the answer and I just can't remember off the top of my head, man. It's so hard, man, sometimes because I read so much stuff doing research. But I believe Ernie Sutton is his uncle. And
you know way
don't
more, you know
quote
more than
me
I
on
do,
that,
man.
but his uncle was somebody that was, it might have been Tahiti Felix or Ernie Sutton or I forget who it was, but I'll look it up and but I know I am like 90% sure his uncle was pretty well-known tattooer. Bill O'Connell said, I asked him about the tattoo artists. I did not know any of the artists there yesterday. There were around 80 or so. I did make some great new connections, though. That's awesome, man. That is what tattoo conventions are for. To meet new artists, to make connections in that tattoo community, maybe to even find yourself a new artist. I mean, I found, the guy that did that, and that, and at a convention when I went to Arizona, man, Bill Keithley. He turned out to be, a guy that I went back to multiple times because I liked his work. It was a great experience.
Mm-hmm.
He is definitely an experienced guy because he's got this goofy freaking beard, but he's cool as hell. He's got crazy stories. I mean, it's a shame I can't go back to him anymore, but thank you, Bill O'Connell, for the $5 super chat. Much appreciated. I want to go to the next piece, and I got to fast forward it because I got to skip over a bunch of music so I don't get dinged. I kind of found this part interesting. He's basically talking about what it takes to be a tattoo artist. And let's jump into this again.
I mean, wine and cars, women.
There's a lot of things involved in learning to tattoo besides being a good artist. I saw a guy in San Diego one time who was a professional penman. He was a master at penmanship. He could take a stack of blank business cards and write your name and address on it 100 times absolutely perfect and paint signs and do this and that. But we handed him a tattoo machine and he fell flat on his face.
So what do you think about that? I mean, I think that clip right there is going to get me yanked, but I thought it was worthy of showing. I mean,
why?
Yeah, because of the music playing in the background.
Oh. Is that a famous song?
I'm not sure, but who knows, man. So he had a guy that phenomenal penmanship, could do business cards one right after you do 100 of them, and they would look exactly perfect. And then they went to go tattoo and fell flat on their face.
Yeah, tattooing requires a certain kind of person, and it's nerve-wracking. Your first, I tell my apprentices this, like, your first 50 tattoos that you do, you're probably going to hurt them a little bit. You're going to scar them a little bit. And then your next 500 tattoos, you're probably not going to really like that much. Because you got to be willing, man. I imagine it's the same thing with body piercing. You got to be willing to put the needle through the tissue and to cause the person discomfort. And to get over the with tattooing, you got to get over the nervousness of the permanence. It is nerve-wracking before you just kind of let all that stuff go and become a tattooer. It's hard in the beginning.
Plus, you're also talking about a tattoo machine and not a paintbrush or a pen.
Right.
Completely different animal. But to me, I think that why I marked that is that, you have plenty of people that go to art school and go, you know what? I'm not really maybe succeeding at finding a job at being a graphic designer or whatever. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to go ahead and be a tattoo artist. And doesn't always work out. It takes more than just being a good artist to be a tattoo artist. But you just said something that made me kind of go, let me ask you a question. Have you ever tattooed anybody that you were completely like, like, you know what I mean? Like you were downright scared if I screw this up?
Yes.
Now, without saying their name, because I think I know who you're going to say, but was it the people that taught you how to tattoo?
Some of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about customer-wise, though?
So
not during your apprenticeship, but your customer-wise.
So I tattooed a Trenton State prison guard one time.
Okay.
And he got big dog across his belly as a belly rocker, right? And this guy was so huge, and I mean like jacked huge, not like me, that I had to tattoo big on one side and spin the chair around and tattoo dog on the other because I couldn't reach over his torso. I mean, he was a monster.
Okay.
Right? And the whole time that I'm tattooing him, he's talking about how much of a slut his girlfriend is. Right?
Okay.
And he's like, you want to see pictures, bro? You want to see pictures of the things I did to her? I could show you pictures. And on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, I sort of do want to see pictures, but I don't know if I should say I want to see pictures because then he might.
What if it's a test?
Yeah, then he might beat the shit out of me. Like,
Okay.
I don't know how to answer that question.
So if you, what would you say that? What did you do to kind of overcome that fear?
You just did it.
Just go.
You just did it. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Kept a shotgun under the counter.
Well, I mean, those days, different story. But so this next part is Zeke basically just comes out and he says, what he thinks makes a perfect tattoo. I found it pretty interesting. And
Perfect tattoo is actually a 50-50 thing. Your customer and yourself. If the customer is in the right frame of mind and isn't distracted by anything and he'll hold still and he has good skin condition. Anyway, if he meets you halfway and you can meet him the rest of the way, you can do a perfect tattoo. Just like
So now, like for one piece tattoo work, right? Something I can get done in 45 minutes. If they eat and they sleep well and stay hydrated, if they do what you said to do in your video, they can sit. But it really does take a certain kind of person, man, to get heavily tattooed, to go through all that duress and all that pain.
you mean like a 5-hour, 6-hour session?
Yes.
Okay.
Or to get an outline done on their entire torso and then know that it's,
Got to come back and
it's
do.
like 100 hours. It's like 120 hours. It's a certain kind of person that can bear up under that and not not move and not
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, my arm, I think I had, it was either 5 or 6 sessions on my arm, on the top part, that Alex Gray piece.
Yeah.
And I was booking 5 hours, 6 hours at a pop. And I know each time that I went back, it was like a thing that I kind of had to get myself amped up to go to do it, because I knew, I'm like, all right, man, this is gonna be 5 hours of suck. Because yes, it's on your arm, but I think it doesn't matter where you're getting a tattoo at that point. After so many hours,
After 3 hours, man.
it's just raw hamburger.
After 3 hours, that's about what, on average, if a guy's like, I want to book a session for a large piece, I'm like, let's do 3 hours. And if you can keep it together longer than that, we'll extend the sessions. Now, personally, these days, and I haven't made a secret of this ever on this channel, I get tattooed 2 hours at a time because I'm going to be 54 in a couple weeks, and I'm not suffering anymore. My 9-hour, the longest I've sat, 9 hours, I'm never doing that ever again, ever.
It's kind of like at the point where,
I'm old. It hurts.
what's up, Inkzilla? Thanks for hanging out with us tonight.
Plus,
It's kind of like we're we're older now. We ride, and we go, all right, man, I'm not in a club anymore. I don't have to ride in the rain.
right.
You know what, man? I don't have to ride when it's 20 degrees anymore. Those days are over. I don't have anything to prove. So it's kind of the same thing where you're like, you know what, dude? I don't have to sit for freaking 9 hours anymore.
Yeah.
Those days are over.
I just tell my tattooers in advance, I'll pay the extra money, book me shorter sessions.
Okay. I mean, look, I have nothing but mad props for the people that do like a 9-hour session and get their whole freaking leg done.
Yeah.
Some of those tattoos that I've seen, there's this girl, man, I'm off to look her up. She's from Scotland, dude, and she does some amazing work, dude. And she does a whole leg in one day.
But then you have to wonder too, right? Like if you're not invested in sobriety and you go there feeling a certain kind of way, right? I mean, as long as somebody is in control of themselves and does not mention, like if someone comes in and they're like, Is it okay? I've been drinking. The tattoo ends there. But if somebody comes in and has taken a couple drinks, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody comes in like,
Yeah, don't say the word, but yeah, on something.
yeah.
You're right. I got you.
I mean, as long as they're not obviously looped. I mean, I've seen people sit for a long time, you know. We used to call them anesthesia tattoos.
Yeah. So Endsville said 4 hours is my max now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really see myself sitting through long sessions anymore. I mean, Christ, dude, I struggled sitting through your, you doing my knee.
And I'm painless.
Although, you know what though, I think I did sit for 4 hours with Gibby when he did my Viking on my leg, and I sat through that like a champ, man. I actually sat and watched Vikings. How corny is that, dude? Yeah, it was cool, man.
Have you ever heard that guy, the actor from Vikings, talk about people getting his face tattooed on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't have that dude on my leg.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
He just thinks it's hilarious. He's like, I'm not Ragnar Lothbrok.
right. Well, I mean, you know, we talked about that with the episode with Jay.
Right. I'd get Floki tattooed on me.
I think that you know, our interpretation of what Vikings look like and, you know, are completely off of, you know, but whatever. So there's other pieces of this documentary that I found interesting, and I don't know if we're gonna have time to get through all of them. You know, there is a piece in here that I do want to play though, where he talks about Sailor Jerry. And then I also want to show the last piece about Ed Hardy. So there's, I think that if you really get the time to sit down, I think it's like 20 some minutes long. I highly suggest you check it out. It's really good documentary, man, and there's a lot of really good stuff in here, a lot of good details. It's definitely worth watching. But let me find the next part with Sailor Jerry, because I love how he kind of gave Jerry props on other stuff, you know, outside of tattooing.
So to be honest, before you get to the Jerry part, I have almost everything that's been published about Sailor Jerry because I was so obsessed with him when I was a kid.
Okay.
I've never seen the Damn the Torpedoes Full Speed Ahead tattoo that's in this documentary.
Okay.
Never seen it printed anywhere.
He was probably, bar none, the master of the business. And for generations, or God only knows when, there'll never be another guy like him. And he had degrees in electronics and philosophy. He had Master Siemens papers. He had his own radio, all-night commentary on the air. He'd work all day tattooing, and he'd rush to the radio station. And he had a sort of an open forum where you could call up and talk about anything. He invented a formula for navigators to correct the curvature of the Earth. Well, usually you have to go by a table. Well, he figured out a mathematical formula. Well, he was just completely a genius anyway. So he had all his little hobbies right in his shop. And it's amazing to me because here he was on this island all his life. He was he was a pretty staunch American in the time when people were really, you know, when the country, I guess, meant something, you know. And he went to sea during World War II as a seaman. That was his trade. And he sailed and he did navigation and radio work and whatever he was doing. And when he came back from the sea, he opened up his shop again and went back to tattooing. But he did all these other things too. Well.
So there you go, man. Like, I think that's pretty awesome that he's given Jerry props on a bunch of other stuff that outside of tattooing that he appreciated. I found it interesting, the whole thing with Jerry figuring out the mathematic calculation thing instead of using the compasses or whatever. That's pretty cool, dude. I didn't know about that. I knew about the radio show. I think that's
pretty
something.
Infamous.
Yeah.
You know, he was in a Dennis the Menace cartoon.
Yeah, I did see that. But this next piece, I kind of really, I think this is it.
There it is.
Yeah, so let's jump into this.
Well, as far as the Japanese style goes, the hand technique is probably superior to the machine technique in many respects. First of all, there's very little sensation or very little feeling. You don't even know you're getting a tattoo in the first place. And then you can carry out certain techniques like big, long graduations of shading that's very, very difficult to do. There's probably only 2 or 3 guys in the world that can do it with a conventional Western machine. So I have a hand tattoo myself. This was done by a Japanese tattoo artist from Gifu City, Japan, when he did a visit over in this country. As far as I know, I'm the only Westerner that ever had these particular characters. I had quite a go-around with Ed Hardy about this tattoo. When I asked Oguri to put it on, Ed jumped in and he said, "Oh, Oguri will never put that on you. That's strictly for the Japanese patrons, and that's their thing, and Oguri will never do it for you." But Oguri and I had a rapport between us that was pretty good, you know. So when he saw the kind of person I was and what I wanted, he understood right away, and he immediately just lay down on the floor, and he got out a little sumi stick and pulled out his little bamboo stick and beading needles and went right to work.
So, you know, one of the things that I found interesting there was he answered a question that I always had about, is it more painful to get it done by hand that way or not?
Looks more painful.
He, you know, flat out says that, you barely even know you're getting tattooed. And then the part about Ed Hardy, where, you know, Ed Hardy with his knowledge and whatnot, and because he had become that guy, right? Him and Nolan.
So Hardy ends up Hardy was offered Jerry's shop, but Jerry knew that Hardy was going to go to Japan the second Hardy met Horihide.
Right.
That's at least what he said in one of his letters or something. But the thing is, if you read what Don Hardy says about Japan, is he thought he was going to go over there and it was going to be some kind of huge Zen experience.
Yeah.
And he ends up running into guys that are like, "Can you get us American guns?" Right? He still had like the sort of pie in the sky idea of what the Japanese tattoo experience was going to be. And from what I've read that he wrote, it was a pretty, pretty rude awakening.
He talks about him having to come back home like with his tail between his legs, really. And, you know, I think it's pretty cool, though, that, like, you know, Zeke wound up getting that. And, you know, he just said, as far as he knew, he was the only Westerner that had ever gotten that tattoo. So,
but I do sort of agree with a thing that he inferred in that. I've always wondered whether the best Japanese tattooers, even to the day, like discounting like a Shiji, right, who's ridiculous. Are there still just Japanese tattooers that won't even tattoo Westerners? That are that steeped in that kind of Japanese mindset? I mean, I'm going to suspect that there are.
Maybe over there.
Yeah, that
not
there's
here.
No, over there. That there's still guys that you have to go through the whole process of being introduced to the guy who introduces you to the guy who then introduces you to the tattooer. I mean, I imagine, man.
Yeah. So Bill O'Connell said, "Man, guys, I saw a guy get a full back piece done yesterday. 2 artists, crazy, man. It was beautiful too." Yeah, that seems to be a new thing that I'm seeing a lot, where there's guys that are doing collabs with other tattoo artists, and they're knocking out a tattoo at the same time. You know, that's cool if you can afford it, I guess.
For some reason, I think that Guy Atkinson had grimy and I can't think of the other guy, but I think he had his sleeves removed, and then he had 2 different guys like blast out his sleeves at once.
Okay.
Grimy and someone else.
Fat Cracker said, "I did 10 hours, then 9 the next, 8 the next, skipped a day, and did 9 hours the next." Inkzilla said, "I have clients who sit all day, but they are in their early 20s. Seems the older I get, the less I personally can sit. I agree with that 100%. I know my, I guess, pain tolerance now that as I get older is less and less.
I mean, even think about when you would jump on a bike, man, and think nothing of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, it's the old saying. There's two kinds of riders, folks.
Yep.
The guys that have wrecked and the guys who haven't wrecked yet. And you could usually tell when you're out and about who each one of them are. Just by the way they're riding. Stephen Street said I did 2 hours the other week on my upper thigh and ribs. Upper thigh, 2 ribs. Glad when it was over. 55 soon. Yeah,
See,
man.
And that's an interesting thing because the arms and the legs, right? They get covered pretty early. The back, and by the time I have my rib cage, like the ditch behind my knees, like
Woo.
yeah, my stomach is
Dude, Inkzilla has stopped in to hang on the live stream tonight. He's like, hey, man, I have to hop off. I'm on my honeymoon in Puerto Rico. I'll catch you all later.
Catch you later, man.
Dude,
yeah.
First off, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Second of all, dude, you're on your honeymoon and you're hanging out with us? That's awesome, dude.
Well, I mean, you are handsome.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, congratulations, brother.
Bill O'Connell said, I did 36 hours and 16 days back in the 90s. God bless you, sir.
Monsters.
That is insane, dude. But I don't want to. I think that there's other clips that I could have showed you all tonight on the Zeke documentary. But some of them have music in the background, and I don't want to get dinged. And I really feel like you should go watch it yourself anyway, because there's parts that we skipped over that are equally as important. It's a really good documentary. I'm super happy that Mike Houghton's family and Mike Hardy put it together and got it out to the public so others could see it. It would have been a shame that if that documentary had not seen the light of day. Because to me, I've always heard fascinating stories about Zeke Owens, and then, through research and stuff like that on different topics, his name comes up, and, to see him talk and speak and, all that stuff, it's just really cool for me.
You know what we should do? Really, we should invite these guys to talk about like what's the sketchiest tattoo experience that you've had? What's the longest you've been tattooed? Like, they're always you guys are always welcome to put that stuff in the comments and talk to us about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, there's times where we're like trying to
were there pit bulls running around the kitchen table? Were they using 40 bottle caps for ink? I mean, tell us about that stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're always that is the whole purpose of this live stream, is so this way you guys can interact with us and we can hear your side of different subjects and whatnot. It's not for us just to sit here and ramble.
I would be curious to hear Fat Cracker's sketchiest tattoo experience. In particular.
Even though that Stephen Street and there's some other guys here. I mean, I know Bill O'Connell's from the States, but like Stephen, he's from the UK, so that would be a completely different world from us. Drag, being in Spain. He's not on tonight.
Luz?
Yeah, Luz being in Mexico. So we got people from all over the world that have probably different experiences than what we have, here. I guarantee you it might even be different. I'm not guaranteeing. It might be even different for Sarah being in Canada.
They're probably just nicer when they tattoo you up there.
Yeah, it's probably all like, hey guys.
You know what? It probably
nice
probably when you get tattooed in Canada, it doesn't even hurt.
Bunch of hosers, eh? But I hope you all enjoyed tonight's episode, man. If you get a chance, definitely check out some of the other cool stuff that's on the internet. I want to thank you all again for watching the Coleman episode. It really means a lot to me that it got as many views as it did. And don't forget, we won't be on next week, but we'll be on the following Sunday. For all of you in the United States, happy Memorial Day. I don't know over in the UK and whatnot if they do any of that on.
Armistice Day.
Yeah, I just don't know if it matches up to the same day or not. But thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you for subscribing to our channel, and thank you for being a part of our community here at Tattoos and Review. I hope you all have a safe, happy week, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Take it easy, everybody.